It's a special Sunday night episode here at WalterFootball.com. We're going to do another live fantasy football mock draft. I'm going to post the link here right now, so you guys listening right here will get first dibs on a draft spot here on Sleeper. So before we get into everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit WalterFootball.com, and visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, something from the merch store. September is Lust Month. September right around the corner, so it's important that lust rights are human rights, and you can get this shirt as well as everything else at the merch store 10% off or 20% off depending on what you're getting. You can get shirts, mouse pads, playing cards, lots of other stuff, our famous apron, baseball caps, lots more here. You get a discount. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people. I saw Penn State. I was there for 6 years, so I had a lot of writing material. And a Safety and a Field Goal, which is a top 5 topic book about the NFL. And I'm going to have a new book out soon. I just finished editing it, and I'm going to go through it once more, and then I'm deciding on the book cover right now, and so it's gonna be out soon. It's gonna be Year of the Bad Beat. It describes my torture from the 2025 NFL season, so it was a lot of fun to write. Please consider super chats and super stickers. That is the best way to support the show. I say it all the time, and it's true. Kevin Kovac has been a great supporter, and then recently Harambe Slayer has given us, I think, like $5 super chats recently. So thank you so much, Harambe Slayer, as well. Okay, it looks like we have about half of the room filled, so I'm going to post the link on X right now. But we are joined tonight by Mike Luchene. Mike, how are you?
I'm great. I am greater than the number of tabs you have open on your computer right now. Redraft season. I love it.
How many tabs do you think I've opened?
I'd say it looks like about 180.
Let me think here. So that was kind of a trick question because this is only one window that you see. I have 4 windows worth of tabs. Now, one of the windows only has like 7 or 8. Okay. The other ones, my main one has 90. The other ones have about 70 each. So it's we're at 230. But I also have Opera, which has about 40 tabs. I have Firefox, which has about 40 tabs. So we're at like 300 here. So it is it's a high number. No one ever gets it right, but it's a good guess.
I love it.
And I know where everything else is too. Like people are like, what do you have here? I'm like, oh, I know what it is. I don't know. A lot of it's just like YouTube music that I listen to on my one screen. This one, just like links I've ever used on the stream. Like a bunch of DraftKings stuff that's like on the left here is the best ball links. We have the merch store here, the Amazon, there's Kenny's website, there's FanDuel, and so like I rarely close everything. I'll do like a cleanse like once a year. I close a bunch of stuff, but then like I just continue to add stuff and just doesn't go away. Am I like crazy, or have you seen something like this before?
Oh no, yeah, I've definitely seen this before. I think it's great.
How many tabs do you have open?
I have, let's see, I've got 4 over here. Gotta close 2 of those, but then I've got 2 over here on the other monitor. So
nice.
6.
Okay, well, that's a good number. It's low. Yeah. Is this PPR? Yes, it is PPR. I'm drafting 12th. I'm going to be doing a fantasy draft in one of the leagues. This is, I think, the 4th year I'm in this league, and I picked 12th because we got to pick the order in which we finished last year. Is how we decided to pick. And I finished, I think I had like the 3rd highest scoring team or 4th. And so I picked 3rd or 4th, and like 1 and 2 were both picked. And so I was like, let me pick 12 because I can usually get the guys I want at like around 12. Since we last spoke, all the preseason games occurred. Every team just had their first preseason game, except for the teams still playing the Hall of Fame game. Have you come up with like, it's like anything change your mind based on the results, or are you like, oh, this is kind of what I expected?
Yeah, no, I mean, there are definitely some things that happen to change my mind. There always is, and I think there's a balance. It matters what happens in training camp and when the preseason starts, but some of it needs to be taken with a grain of salt. So, for example, I'll give you one example of I think it needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and then another example that I think matters. So, everybody's going crazy over Cam Scatabo and saying, "Oh, it's a 3 running back committee." I don't believe that for 1 second. He's coming back from a gruesome injury. The guy's ankle was like turned backwards last year. Why would you give him every starting rep in the first preseason game? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
If anything, from that game, I'm actually a little bit lower on Tyrone Tracy because I feel like if something happened to Scatabo, it would be the same as last year where it's some combination of Tracy and Singletary. And when you've got Jackson Dart, the mobile quarterback, scrambling all over the place, there's just not a lot of upside there. But then there is, I'll just give a recent example of something that I do think matters, and that's the Chiefs. Okay, you talked about your book that's coming out. Okay, I know DeMercado is in your book. All right,
in the book he's on the cover.
Exactly. So I was a little bit surprised, not because he's good and I expected him to be the handcuff, but just because we've been hearing that he was going to start the year as the handcuff, and it looks like that's not going to be the case. Looks like his best case scenario right now might be to be the 3rd running back on the roster who's just going to play special teams. And it looks like Emmett Johnson, the rookie, or dare I say Brashard Smith, who I was not in on last year, one of those two looks like they could be the handcuff there. And even if that's sort of a platoon, if Ken Walker were to be injured, I'm a little bit more interested there because I expect Mahomes to be a little bit less mobile or at least willing to run this year. So I moved Emmett Johnson up. I put Brashard Smith on my ranking sheet, and I just deleted DeMercado, and hopefully for good. But there's a lot. I mean, there's so much we could get into that changed over the course of the last few days.
Yeah, I thought Emmett Johnson looked really good. He definitely helped himself for sure. Yeah, and I have a hatred for DeMercado based on what he did last year with the drop. I think I didn't know how they just didn't cut him on the spot because it wasn't, we've seen that mistake before, but it happened 1 week after Adonai Mitchell did the same thing. And by the way, Adonai Mitchell did the same thing as Jonathan Taylor, who was on his team late the year before. So it's kind of like this chain of events, he's just like Dumb and Dumber there. So that was pretty terrible. But yeah, no, Emmett Johnson I thought looked really good. So I was really impressed with him. I already liked him. So it's just a confirmation on what I thought of him coming into the league. With Scatabo, I wasn't really concerned. I was like, are they going to really run him to the ground in the preseason coming off the ankle injury? Like, even if he wasn't coming off the ankle injury, why would they do that? Although the Cardinals giving Jeremiah Love 14 carries, it's like a regular season game. That was something. What do you think about that?
So their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round picks are all out injured 2 weeks into the preseason. It's not even 2 real weeks into the preseason. They, of course, have played 2 games because they played the Hall of Fame game. But Chase Casantis is going to miss the year, their 2nd round guard. Now, I mean, Jeremiah Love, I was higher on him than you were in redraft. And now, I mean, starting the year with a high ankle sprain, going along with all that other stuff we've covered where, you talked about that schedule looks, at least on paper, like it's going to be brutal. He's a fade for me now. And Carson Beck, I'll give them a pass on Carson Beck because I feel like if you have a rookie day 2 quarterback and you're not planning on starting him right away, he should be getting a lot of reps in the preseason, but he's injured too.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think about Love before the injury? Because for me, I was like it seemed like Tyler Algier was almost an afterthought. Like they're going to give Love so many carries, and Algier was going to come in, and then Love came back and he got a bunch of work, and then Algier came in again. It felt like he was kind of like the change of pace back there almost. So, what do you like? Were you surprised by that at all?
I was shocked by the usage in the preseason game. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. You draft a running back with the 3rd overall pick in the draft. You're committed to him. And we've talked about this before. this isn't like you've got a 27-year-old running back with a year left on his deal, right? You've got a running back that you're paying top dollar to, that you invested the third pick in the draft in. You have to assume the next 5 years he's on your roster. And especially, I know everybody wants to win, but especially with the outlook of that team and its quarterback for this year, you have to be really careful with how much of a workload you give him. And I couldn't believe, I think he had 15 touches the other night. It just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it was a lot. I was pretty surprised by it. So yeah, if it's a high ankle sprain, it's about a month, right? Maybe a little bit more than a month. And so you think week 1, week 2 might be in danger, and he may not be 100% on his way back. So yeah, that was that was a surprise. I came out of the preseason thinking like, okay, yeah, he's there's not even a committee here. Like, he is going to be the main guy. They're just going to feed him the ball over and over again. Now I thought like, okay, Algier's still going to get the goal line carries. James Conner, if he's on the team, still going to get the third down work. But like, it just seemed like he was definitely way ahead of Algier. Whereas like when Bijan came to the league, Bijan and Algier rotated, that's what I expected. Like, but we didn't see that at all in the preseason. But yeah, they worked him into the ground, it's like, it was pretty insane. So that was crazy. What do you think of some of the rookies? Like we saw Jacoby Lane have a nice game. Casey Concepcion had 4 targets. Denzel Boston actually had the first catch there, and then it was all Concepcion after that. Caleb Douglas looked good for Miami. I saw some buzz on him even before the game. I started drafting him like round 19 or round 20. Like now he's going like round 16. So any other guys stand out to you here? We're at the three spots left.
Yeah, I mean, I love Boston and Concepcion. Stribling, obviously, he's going to be a huge riser in redraft now. I want to focus on, you talked about Caleb Douglas, and give you credit here and compare him to another guy too. I think Jacoby Lane's my guy. I know you've been really, really big on him. He's a priority for me late in drafts this year, is going to be. I drafted him actually in my Big Gorilla draft at the FFPC earlier tonight. But Caleb Douglas, you were all in on him. Now, he looks like he's probably going to be their top target. Mm-hmm. What is that going to bring? Okay, maybe nothing special because it's the Dolphins and it's Malik Willis. But that's useful late in drafts. And you were taking him in the 19th, the 20th round.
Yeah.
I want to kind of compare him. People have been yelling at me on Twitter. Cyrus Allen. Okay.
Yeah.
So Cyrus Allen's another rookie, 5th round pick. I don't hate Cyrus Allen. I don't think that he's bad, or I'm not convinced that he's going to be have a terrible NFL career. But he got drafted, I think, in the 12th round of my draft that I did tonight.
Oh wow! Okay.
What if you have a lineup league like we're drafting here tonight? What do you expect to get from him by drafting him? What you're saying is he's going to beat out Tyquan Thornton. Okay, maybe. He's not ahead of him as of right now because they took Thornton out of the game and Cyrus Allen played into the 3rd quarter. But sure, he could beat him out by the start of the regular season. And then I guess you're hoping for an injury to either Rice or Worthy. Like, I know they're both hurt, like kind of banged up right now, but they're both projected to be, healthy for week 1. You're guessing one of them is going to have a setback, or both of them are going to have a setback. And then even then, Cyrus Allen's the 3rd target in that offense behind whichever one is playing, and probably Travis Kelce. He's the type of guy who gets waived off of fantasy football teams after week 1 or week 2. And he's a wasted draft pick. If you think he's going to be good this year, you still shouldn't draft him because it's probably not going to be until later in the year. Just pick him up off waivers in week 4 or 5 or 6. This is making no sense to me. But it's all these people who want to make believe that they could tell the future, and they want to say that they were first to find the next Puka Nacua. That just never happens.
That's I mean, you're right. Like he is the third option at best in an offense that's not very good, and the quarterback's coming off 20 CL and doesn't have good blocking in front of him for the most part. Like it's a pretty sketchy situation, as Matthias is saying. Allen's a bum. Every year Kansas City hypes the receiver, nothing happens. Yeah, I tweeted. I'm like, oh, I'm old enough to remember Sky Moore getting hyped. And like and nothing happening out of that. So yeah, I feel you there. Like I think best ball you could take him late, round 19 or 20 if you want, although he is going earlier in best ball now. So I don't know. There's so many other receivers I'd rather have, like Caleb Douglas, like he's looking like the number one on that team. Like Stribling could be the receiver too. Jacoby Lane could be the receiver too. The Cleveland Brown guys, like sounds like they're going to start. Yeah. There's so many better options. Rashi Rice is, but we agree on that. Yeah, it's too early, but yeah, we definitely agree on that. I don't know like why you would draft Cyrus Allen and redraft. This doesn't make much sense. We had a couple other questions here. Hey, Walt, is there a chance, depending on how long the stream is, that I can catch you in 30 minutes? Also, I recently posted a video called Inappropriate Fantasy Football Team Names. Okay, that should be funny. It's gotten over 11. That's awesome. 11,000 views on YouTube. Nice. Congratulations on that. Well, I mean, we'll be on for about an hour and a half. And Mike, you just mentioned that you had a draft tonight. Do you want to? We'll go over that after this draft is over. Do you want to talk about what that is?
Yeah. So my thing is I like to play in these FFPC mid stakes and high stakes leagues. So the Big Gorilla is a tournament where they're 12-team leagues. They're $350 entry, and the way it works is the first 12 weeks of the season, that's your regular season. Weeks 13 and 14, that's your playoff. Only 4 teams per league make the playoffs. And then weeks 15, 16, and 17, they're kind of like one of those old school DraftKings, like big tournaments. So it's whoever scores the most points of all of the league winners and all of the second place finishers and all of the Big Gorilla leagues in weeks 15, 16, and 17, they win $1 million. The closest I've ever gotten was I was second going into the 4:00 games of week 17 one year, but I think I ended up finishing like 50th or something like that. I didn't even finish that high. But I had my first draft tonight. It's taken everything that I have to not draft a whole bunch of teams early, but I couldn't resist anymore. I had to get at least one in, and then I've got 8 or 9 more at least later on.
Yeah. That's awesome. It reminds me of like I had a back when Rainmakers was the thing. Do you remember that? DraftKings Rainmakers. Did you ever play that?
No, I don't think I ever did.
Okay, well, you're smart enough to avoid it. I had a lineup one week that after the one, and it was only 1 to 4 o'clock games. It wasn't the Sunday night. So it was at like 4:20 or 4:30. I was in first place in this elite lineup league, and it was 100,000 the first. And like it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. I was still in first. 6:30, 7 o'clock, still in first. I was like, oh my God, like I'm just like sweating this out so much. And I was like finally looking at like what I needed to happen. And like I really didn't want to look. And like I saw that Austin Eckler, the guy who had Austin Eckler was right behind me. And like the last game still going was the Charger game. And like Eckler had just like this meaningless run at the end. And like he got like enough. He got 1 more yard needed to pass me. He passed me by 1 yard, like 0.1 points. And so you know how DraftKings pricing goes. It's not like even out. Like it's not like 100K to like 80K. No, it's a huge drop to second place. So that was such a huge disappointment. It's like I know the feeling. It's just like holding on by a thread. Actually, in my book, one of the bad beats was the Broncos Chiefs game from Christmas. I don't know if you remember that one. All right, we have one more left. So the Broncos are 13.5 point favorites. There's like such nonsense in that game. Like the Broncos that gained about like 250 yards, but yet they didn't cover. But like the other element of that was I was in a DraftKings lineup that was like 20,000 the first. It was the Christmas slate, and I avoided all the bad Lions chalk because that was the day the Lions lost to the Vikings. And so I was in like heading into the final game was like in 37th place. and I had 3 guys left. I had RJ Harvey, Cortland Sutton, and Evan Ingram left, and everyone else ahead of me had 0, 1, or 2 players, and most people had 1 player left. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm so high up, and I have 3 guys left. I might win this. And like Sutton didn't drop a single pass last year. Heading into that game, he dropped a touchdown and he dropped another pass. And like Ingram didn't really do that much. RJ Harvey scored, and that put me at the third. Like third was like $5,000. I was like, okay, that's pretty good, right? And so the final drive happens. The Chiefs get this final drive, and I look behind me, and there's 2 guys at 4th and 5th, kind of like close. And I look at their team because they had 1 guy left, and both had Travis Kelce. And like they needed like 5 or 6 points. I'm like, okay, as long as Kelce doesn't do anything here, that's okay. And like what happens is like Kelce catches 2 meaningless passes right away. And I'm like, oh no, I'm passed, right? I'm passed. So I look, and I'm still 1.4 ahead of them, both of them. They're the same lineup somehow. I'm like, okay, 1.3 ahead of them. I'm like, okay, 14 points. I can't have 14 points. That's 1 catch and 14 yards. I was like, please, or whatever. No, maybe it's 2.4. So I was like, I needed to fade 1 catch and 14 points or 14 yards. And then what happens the next play? Kelce catches a 14-yard pass, and like I just drop from 3rd to 5th. It's like, are you kidding me? Like the one thing I don't need. And yeah, of course. So that was part of the bad beat. So that was like a 1 of 38 chapters in my book where it's just like the most ridiculous thing happened to me. And I kept a tally of how much I lost or how much I could have won based on each bad beat. And like the numbers got pretty high. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a rough year last year with some of the finishes to those games were ridiculous. I mean, I know that one was kind of like very situational to your lineup, but I mean, there were some crazy things that happened.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got a full room here. So let's hit start draft. And we had a question, by the way. I saw this. Are we moving up DJ Moore up our board for yesterday's usage? I'm not, because I had him high to begin with. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, same. I mean, there was nothing there that that would have. Let me just make this pick here.
Yeah, you're up. No, it's real quick as you decide. I bet him to win offensive player of the year at albeit at 250 to 1, but still I was already high on him. So you want to continue? What are you saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I had him in that 4th, 5th round range, and if I'm picking early in the 4th round, I'm probably not picking him there. If I'm picking late in the 4th round and I need a receiver, I'm definitely targeting him either, with that late 4th round pick or that early 5th round pick. So, him catching a pass in the preseason, though, it wasn't like, oh, Josh Allen does like DJ Moore. Like I figured that was good. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I like I said, I was already high on him. Like nothing really changed. He's Josh Allen's number 1 receiver. I don't understand why people wouldn't have been high on him already. Like when that trade happened, it was a 2nd round pick, I think. And people hated the trade on X, and like I didn't understand at the time. And then later the Dolphins they trade Jalen Waddle to the Broncos. And I was like, oh, great trade for the Broncos. And it was the 1st round pick. I'm like, wait a second. I'd rather have DJ Moore than Jalen Waddle. What is happening here?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
no.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, I still can't get on board with Jalen Waddle where he's going in these drafts. He's going ahead of DJ Moore.
Yeah.
And I just don't, I mean, I guess I could see where people are coming from, but I mean, is it really that much of a better situation? The Broncos are better than the Dolphins, but Tua actually did support his receivers in fantasy football for a while. It's just Jalen Waddle is always hurt, and he's not really a volume guy.
No, he's as Butters calls him on here, one of our other co-hosts. He calls it the pyramid scheme, which is a great nickname for it. I really don't get it. I think he's like 1 year younger than Moore, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2, but I think that they're about the same age. And so it's not like DJ Moore is like 30 or something. They trade for an old receiver. Like he's still in his prime. So I don't get it. And yeah, he's come off a bad year. DJ Moore told us he would have a bad year. I don't know if you remember the quote he had heading into the season. He's like, yeah, my usage would be down this year. Like he said something like that. I'm like, okay, so I guess I won't be drafting him. So I barely touched him last year. And I guess people may have been disappointed by him, but I'm like, well, he told us like not to draft him. So and now he's like clearly the receiver one there. Like Shakir's in the slot. He's a good slot receiver, but like on the outside, he's by far the top receiver. So I was like not surprised like the slightest bit. So he didn't move in my rankings. I'm just like, okay, that's the confirmation of what I thought would happen. Okay, so as far as this draft is concerned, I thought I was going to have to make a decision on AJ Brown, but Joey Russo took him, so I like that pick. And then running backs, as you can see, fly off the board here. So given that it's the scarcest position, I wanted to secure 2 running backs there with Barkley and Genty. You took Jamar Chase. Were you considering anyone else there, or was it like clearly Jamar Chase at 3?
No, for me, if I'm picking third, I'm hoping that Gibbs or Robinson fall to me, knowing that that's most likely not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then Jamar Chase is firmly ahead of Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith and Jigba for me. I mean, Nacua had a great year last year. That's probably not repeatable. He's always injured. He's biting people. He's running. He's pulling the Tim Robinson move from the movie Friendship with Paul Rudd, like running through the glass window doors. And Jackson Smith and Jigba had like 33% of the team's targets last year, which is great. But last year is over now. It's not like he's not going to be the featured guy in that offense, but 33% of the targets is an awful lot.
That is a lot. Yeah, for sure. You're up here. Derrick Henry goes. So yeah, the running backs continue to go. Breece Hall even went at 206. So Trey McBride, interesting pick there. Why McBride at 210?
Yeah, I was reading from Jared Smola. He's I don't remember who. I think he might be with Draft Sharks, or I'm not really sure who he's with, but he's a pretty sharp guy. He plays in a lot of FFPC leagues as well. He was, I think the number was 114. Trey McBride ran 114 more routes last year than the second highest tight end, which is insane to think about. Yeah. When I play in lineup leagues, I really I like to try to dominate as much as I can. And for tight ends, I'm an early round tight end guy. If I could get a guy who's going to have 100 receptions at tight end, I love that. So Bowers and McBride are that top tier for me.
Yeah,
I will not be taking Josh Allen right here, though.
Yeah, you're up. Let me answer this question. Walter, 205. Would you reach like I reached? Did someone like Henry or do what I did? Double up on receiver. So let's look at the 205. He took CeeDee Lamb. I think he or Justin Jefferson were the best players available. So I like the running backs left are Hall and Henry, Javonte Williams. Like I think you could probably get someone similar at 308. So I think that you probably made the right decision there. Although at 108, I wouldn't have taken St. Brown. Like maybe that's the decision you have to alter. I know this is PPR and St. Brown's great in that, but like Hampton's going to catch a lot of passes, Genty too. Like, so I like both those guys. So that's the decision I would have changed, not Lamb, because I wouldn't reach on a running back just because like there's so many guys going. Like this is going to slow down at some point. We have Jeremiah Love here at 304. And we talked about him earlier having the high ankle sprain. I feel like if he was healthy, sure, take him there, absolutely, and he probably goes earlier. But with the high ankle sprain, I'm not so sure I would take him in the 3rd round now.
No, I'm not taking him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And I think that he's actually really changed this area of the draft. If you're picking 3rd or 4th, when you get to that 2nd and 3rd round range, now all of a sudden running back is very scarce. Yeah. I moved Breece Hall to the end of the 2nd round. I actually really like him. I think he's going to have a bounce back year now that, Justin Fields isn't there. Justin Fields would run around with the ball super glued to his hand. So he didn't have any receptions. But now I think with Geno, I mean, Geno doesn't have to be a good quarterback. He just needs to dump the ball off to Breece Hall.
Yeah.
But Jeremiah Love, for me, was the other guy who I could talk myself into around the range where false T over here took him until tonight. Okay, the high ankle sprain, you talked about it before. It's about a month-long injury until you're back on the field. But then even after that, some of these guys, like Alvin Kamara, said that he wasn't the same for like half of a year after that. So that's really scary. And again, when you factor in all this other stuff, like the Cardinals' schedule is brutal. And, they get late in the year, they need a quarterback. Why wouldn't they just say, Jeremiah Love's been playing injured for half the season. We're tied to this guy for the next 4 years, assuming they, obviously assuming the 5th-year option for him.
Right.
We're going to put him on ice. And I saw he's scary in the 3rd round now. So after Hall and Henry, that's dicey.
Yeah, it is. I do like Javonte Williams also. I would put him in the very close to Hall. I do like Hall a lot. I've been taking him a lot in like end of 3rd, to beginning to mid 4th. So I would put him there. So do you like Javonte Williams at all, or do you think he's in that group?
So he plays in a great offense. He's going to score a bunch of touchdowns. He's just not a good receiver, So yeah. For me, I take him in the 4th round. He's dicey to me in the beginning of the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like mid 3rd. I think that's okay. DJ Moore is there. I was kind of curious. So to me, it's down to 2 receivers. Both of them are banged up. I don't think DJ Moore is that banged up. I have DeVonta Smith ahead of him though. And I'm going to go with David Montgomery to kind of shore up running back there. Montgomery usually goes like late 4th, but given where running backs are going here, I feel like, you can probably drop a half a round, like Bucky Irving, for example. Like running back here is just so scarce. I think that like you guys drafting here, once you get to your real draft, you're going to be like, oh, this is easy. It's going to be an easy mode because, people aren't going to be drafting like this. You're going to see more quarterbacks and from casual drafters, of course. It's just way different. So it's kind of like, like if you're like practicing for like I was a swimmer. I used to make a lot of competitions. I used to do like tapering and stuff like that, and then you would just be like so much faster. It's what it felt like to me here. Where like you're really grinding here, and then once you get to your real draft, it's gonna be a lot easier. So, but still, everyone's gonna benefit from doing these drafts. I think it's just gonna make you a better drafter.
Definitely, just to see where players are going too. I mean, even in the high stakes drafts, when I see where I'm picking, I'm like, okay, well, I know that I like these 2 players that go toward the end of the 5th round and the beginning of the 6th round. So I'm going to draft 2 of those 4 players, and that's going to shape what I do in rounds 1 and 2 and 3.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But like once you get to the real draft, like you're going to get better players available who you thought would like never get to you. That tends to happen. It's a weird thing. So Miller, we're talking about Miller Time's team. So he took Loveland. I thought he would take a running back on the way back because he seemed concerned about the position. And there he goes, Judkins. So I think he did well to wait. He could have panicked and taken Judkins there. I thought that's something he might do, but that was a good job of waiting there. So that's good drafting. So we didn't discuss your pick. You took Malik Neighbors at 303. So why'd you make that selection?
Well, because it's a mock draft and I don't have to live with whether or not he's healthy. No, but I think this is one where I'm backtracking a little bit on Neighbors. I wasn't touching him in the 4th round as of 3 weeks ago because I really thought he was going to miss the first month of the season. Now it sure looks like he's going to be healthy for week 1, well, at least playing week 1. Mm-hmm. And so he's going to continue to rise up the boards. I could actually see him going mid-2nd round, maybe even early 2nd round, if he gets a clean bill of health in a couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, you're up. You took Swift. Manungai got hurt today, but we don't know the severity of that yet. Is Does that factor into your decision?
Oh, a little bit. I mean, part of it is just that I hadn't taken a running back yet. Got to play 2 running backs, and Swift is the last running back that was left on the board that I'm really comfortable with as like an every down starter.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm not taking a running back with this next pick. And if I didn't have one every down starter here, I feel like that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah, I feel like you have to take one eventually.
Yeah.
I think it looks like every team has at least one running back at this point. Like Sloppy Steaks was, and you were the last guys to take running backs. Jadarian Price moving up. What'd you make of that? Because Helani played a lot of snaps in that game last night. I was kind of surprised. That obviously has to be bullish for Price, right? And you're
I think it clearly is, and I think the other thing there is, let me just make this pick. I'm taking DJ Moore here.
Okay.
So the other thing there is, I feel like it's kind of bullish for Zach Charbonnet too.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to be back sooner than we realize, because I still think Helani is going to have to factor in week 1, week 2, very early in the season. Without Charbonnet there, you're not going to, we talk about this all the time, but you're not going to take a rookie running back, especially one that wasn't even the starter for his team, didn't even carry the full load for Notre Dame, and just slam him into the ground in a 17-game NFL season. So his touches are going to be somewhat manufactured and managed, even if he's the starter. So maybe they're counting on Charbonnet being back for like week 2 or 3, and slowly easing him back in. I don't know, because that made almost as little sense to me as Jeremiah Love getting 14 carries and a reception.
Yeah. Maybe that'd be crazy if he returned so quickly, because he tore the ACL in January. Is the playoff game. So who knows? I mean, maybe October or some point. I thought for sure he'd be like week 10 or so, but I don't know. With the medical advancements, like you see these guys coming off the torn ACL much quicker, whereas like the ankle still like feels like delayed. You talked about that with Jeremiah Love. And I've I had a high ankle sprain, not to compare myself to an NFL athlete, but I had a high ankle sprain that I suffered in October, and I'm still limping around. It's been 9 months. And I granted I haven't gone to a podiatrist, but still, that's another story. It took me like 2 months to get an X-ray, or like actually longer than that. It took me like almost 3 months to get an X-ray. That I wrote like several Jerks of the Week entries on that saga. It was a total disaster. Like just like I just couldn't get an X-ray. It was ridiculous. I had to go like back and forth with like my insurance company. My insurance company dropped my medical provider, my PCP, for no reason, and I had to like reapply. It was awful. It was all. I don't know why they dropped my doctor. It was. I just had to go like back and forth, and for some reason the X-ray people like they took noon off. Every day, like the office just closed from 12 to 1. Now I was just sitting there like an idiot, and like some woman's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm waiting for X-ray." She's like, "We're all at lunch. We're not gonna be back for like an hour." I'm like, wow. So I just had to leave. So it was like all this nonsense. So like if I finally got one, and then I get a call like, "There's nothing wrong with your ankle." I'm like, what? Then why am I limping? It's like didn't have an answer for me. So I don't know. It's been crazy. So I'm gonna call them on Monday and see what happens. I was gonna take Parker Washington. Joey keeps sniping me here. Okay, so I'm gonna continue rotating receiver and running back. I want 4 really good running backs to start my draft, as I've been saying. So I feel like there's some good options at running back, and I don't think you're going to like the pick based on what you said on X, but I'm going to take Jameson Williams at receiver. Better in best ball, but I'm still high on him. Ever since Dan Campbell took over the play calling, I think that like he's just more of a focal point in the offense. So I like him a lot. I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks also, because Hubbard's injured and not going to play for a while, and given how early the running backs are going, like Brooks should probably go like round 7, but it feels like all running backs are going around early. So I don't know. I think Brooks is talented. Like I'm worried about the injuries. The offensive line is not great, but he's very talented. He's going to catch passes. I think he's going to have a decent season, as long as he stays healthy, of course. I mean, he's my fourth running back, so I assume you don't like the Brooks pick, right?
Well, I mean, with Brooks, I just wonder. It's one of those deals where Chuba's got a hamstring injury. Okay, that's not good. Hamstrings can pop back up. Baseball players can't even run the first base. They can't even run out a foul ball without, tearing their hamstring. But if Chuba's back week 1, he might be the starter there still. I just don't know what you're getting out of that starting situation. So I'm really big in like Tony Pollard just got picked, for example. I'm really big when I look at running backs. I don't want any part of a running back that I don't feel like has a running back 1 ceiling, a top 12 overall running back season. So like Tony Pollard, for example, he's a starter, but who cares? Like he's going to have 9 points every week.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
And so Jonathan Brooks, we'll see. I mean, if that offensive line gets healthy, Rico Dowdle actually got me to the playoffs in a few of my high stakes leagues last year. So if the tackles come back, or if Monroe Freeling shows a little bit more polish than what we'd expect from his rookie season, the first round pick, then that's great. And then if not, then he could fall into that Tony Pollard sort of area, or even be the backup.
Yeah, I mean, Dowdle ran for 210 and 180 in 2 games there. Like that was insane. I mean, Dowdle's not even that good. But Brooks is way more talented than Dowdle. I like Dowdle a little bit, but still, like Brooks is a much better prospect. He was coming out of Texas. Blake Corum is my other option. I like him more in best ball because like you don't have to like guess. But I mean, and Brooks. I think the RB1 there. I know Hubbard. Like we'll see with hamstrings. Like, but I like Hubbard just seems like a guy. Like it just like he's not that talented. He's just like a steady. Ideally like a steady RB2, but he's been elevated to a starter just because they haven't had anything else except for Dowdle. So I'm more confident that Brooks can hold him off just because of the upside. And I think they probably know that. They know that Hubbard has been solid for us, but he's not the guy who's going to get us over the top. Like Brooks has the talent to do so. At least that's what I think. I don't know. Maybe they think differently, but just guessing.
He might have that talent, and we'll find out. Well, but I'm with you. Chuba Hubbard certainly nothing special either. I would definitely put him squarely into that Tony Pollard category.
Yeah, you got your second bear, Rome Odunze. I thought that was a really good value. If there was no Jameson Williams, he was my top receiver, so I think I would have taken him. So I like the pick.
Yeah, I like picking in your area of the draft. You heard me actually say there are a few players that I like in that 5th, 6th range. So if I'm picking 10th, 11th, 12th, even 9th, that's sort of informing what I'm doing with my early picks. Those players I was talking about are Jameson Williams, who you picked, Rome Odunze, who usually goes a little bit earlier than this. And you have convinced me to put Parker Washington in that category. So I've got him below the other 2, but he's right there. So if I'm picking where you are, I'm trying to take 2 of those 3 at that turn or around that turn.
I've gotten so many people inducted into the Parker Washington cult. I feel like everyone at the beginning of the off season, I asked everyone on the show, do you like Parker Washington? Everyone said no. Like now I think everyone says yes. I don't think there's any holdouts anymore. So I think that's definitely a win for me. Well, we'll see how he performs, but I'm pretty optimistic about him. Obviously, I think he's my 3rd highest drafted receiver on best ball, which recently I haven't drafted him that often because he's going like late 4th, early 5th now, which is, I think like probably is fine, but I'd rather take some other guys. So I don't hate it though. Marvin Harrison Jr. interesting. So over Michael Wilson. So what's your thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, my preferred format is that FFPC where I'm always shooting for the fences. I'm always going for high upside. And Marvin Harrison could be a complete bust, even in the 7th round. But his upside is just so high. I know it doesn't have the receivers listed here on Sleeper, like what number they are, but I mean, I think I just took him somewhere around the low end wide receiver 3 or high end wide receiver 4 range. So that's just, I'm betting on a breakout from Harrison, and if he doesn't break out, then it's a bad
pick. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, he had a nice touchdown in that game. Wilson had 2 targets, so I don't know what to make of that. The whole situation with him. Like, and to another, like, lesser extent, Brian Thomas Jr. Like, I kind of get like what's going on with him. Like, Harrison just like he had that one insane game against the Rams week 2 of his rookie year, and just like a bunch of nothing after that. Just like where was that guy? Like, I haven't seen that guy more often. It just, I don't know. And if I wonder if his name was like Marvin Williams. Marvin Williams is a basketball player. I don't know. I'm blanking on all. Marvin Dowdle, a junior. Like, what sounds like a Madden name. What like people still give him chances? I'm not so sure. I don't know, but people like remember his dad.
Well, if he stayed healthy last year, he would have probably had somewhere around like 800, 850 yards, which is not good. That's not what he was supposed to be. But, still only going into his 3rd year. I'm just looking for upside. But, you mentioned not really knowing what to make of that situation. I really don't think anyone does. And I can see, I mean, I think McBride will have a good year, obviously. But I could see one of Harrison or Wilson really being a great value this late in the draft. And which one that'll be, I mean, I think if you asked anybody outside of the Cardinals organization, they'd be lying if they said they knew.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, I don't even think they know. So I don't know. It feels like they don't really know what's happening. It's a weird situation where, like, like the coaches and everyone, they wanted to trade down, and the owner's like, no, I want Love, and like it just feels like it's kind of like one hand's not talking to the other in that organization. But they've had a lot of futility over the years, so I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm thinking that. But it's like, why give Love 14 carries in the first preseason game? It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
No, there's no rhyme or reason to it. So I feel like they just do like random things. Like, they just kind of like, I don't know if you ever seen the South Park episode where like they explain how the Family Guy episodes are made. Like, they had like manatees like taking random balls out of the water. Like, it just feels like what the Arizona Cardinals do to me. How sure it goes. All right. I wasn't gonna take a quarterback, but like there's one guy where it's just way late. And for some reason, okay, I couldn't find Algier to cross him off. Okay, I'm gonna take another receiver first, and let's see, Jaden Reed, who is keep saying he's practicing in 2 receiver sets, which is really good. And then I'm gonna pair Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts. I didn't want to take a quarterback early, but Hurts at 801 feels like way too good to pass up. And I'm not like crazy about the other receivers here. It feels like the other receivers are like I could get some of them at the 9-10 turn. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think that I should be able to get some of them there. And the running, I already have 4 running backs. I'm not like, I don't see any running back near the top of my rankings. So those are my picks. Any optimism for Jaden Reed now that he's in 2 receiver sets?
Yeah, so I've heard conflicting things there. I know in the preseason game the other night, I think it was Golden, right? Wasn't it Golden with Watson in the 2 receiver sets, would Reed back in the slot? But either way, I think you're looking at a huge uptick in targets for him. Dubs is gone. Dontavian Wicks is gone. They're talking about less of a rotation at wide receiver, which is only going to help. And then Tucker Kraft came out today and sort of insinuated that he might be on somewhat of a managed snap count for the first half of the season.
Mhm.
And so that would obviously help him as well. So, and being healthy, of course, helps him. So, we'll see what happens with Watson, Reed, and Golden. I don't really have that's kind of a little bit like the Cardinals situation. You know that two of those players are probably going to be pretty solid based off of where they're getting drafted. But we don't know which ones it'll be yet. So I love Reed and Golden in this range. I think it was a good pick. And Hurts, I mean, he's going to run more this year. He had a weird year. He only had 8 rushing touchdowns because they were like flipping the ball to Dallas Goedert with like the fake tush push last year. He should have an uptick in rushing attempts, yards, and touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I think definitely a bounce back year. Better coordinator, or a coordinator who can't be worse than what they had last year. So, I definitely like that situation. And you're up here at 8-10. So you're making the pick here. So okay, let's see. You took Caleb Williams, so you're pairing him with Roma Dunze. So why Caleb Williams there?
Well, I've got a Dunze, and I've also got DJ Moore in case he gets traded back to the Bears. No, but I mean, Caleb Williams, you keep hearing that he's supposedly taken a huge step forward. We'll find out when the season starts, but that's not very unbelievable. I mean, he was an elite prospect, took a huge step in year 2. He's got a great supporting cast. I know Burden's a little bit banged up right now, but for me, you look where he's going here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, quarterback 7. He could easily be quarterback 1 overall this year. I don't think that would really surprise anyone.
No, I don't think so. I think my guy is Drake May. I think he has a really good chance of unseating Allen. But yeah, Caleb Williams could have an amazing season for sure. I mean, it's the second year in that offense. He doesn't have to learn new things, and is more comfortable with the receivers. Burden really didn't play all that much to start the year last year. A lot of these Zacchaeus, but yeah, now he's in there, assuming that he's healthy. And Loveland also, he didn't play all that much either. And then he saw that big uptick in production. So yeah, Caleb Williams, his upside is definitely there for sure. So Khalil Shakir goes at 902, so you're up again here at 903. So
so I'm gonna hold my nose here and take Chris Rodriguez. I don't love him. I mean, in a real draft, I probably would have made a little bit more of a priority to get my second running backs. Probably would have had to have taken one. Honestly, the way this draft has fallen has been a little bit different than a regular draft. I feel like so many running backs went that I just scooped up the value at wide receiver and other positions. But Chris Rodriguez is going to be involved at least. He's will prevent me from getting a 0 in my second running back slot early in the season. But for this team to be good, the rest of the draft is pretty much going to have to be high upside handcuff running backs, and then you kind of have to hope that one of them hits based off of an injury. No, I didn't take Rodriguez before Jordan Mason. That would have been wild. Jordan Mason went 2 rounds ago.
Yeah. It's funny. We had Ben Wassley on from he's from FFD Fantasy Football previously, but now he's with hashtag football. But he drafted the same way you did. He took an early running back, and then a bunch of receivers, and an early tight end, and then a bunch of sleeper running backs. I think he also had Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken. So it's funny. It's funny that you guys both drafted the same way.
Yeah, you don't want Chris Rodriguez in your lineup. That's a pretty weak running back too. I don't think any of my teams will be that weak at running back too. But here, I mean, these running backs flew off the board. You look at Breece Hall, that's the earliest I've seen him go. Javonte Williams, that's the earliest I've seen him go. Love didn't get hit at all from being injured. He got drafted where he normally goes. Scatterbo went, and he usually goes in the 4th round. From what I see, Jacobs usually goes in the 4th round. like that Montgomery pick, but Irving is usually around later. Price is usually a round or two later. Tootin goes there, but you know what? I wouldn't really feel great with him in the lineup based off of recent news either, because that just seems like it's going to be a three-headed committee at this point, and that's awfully rich to be taking him in the fourth or fifth round.
I'm not. I don't know. I mean, it was that report that Rodriguez is going to get the goal line carries and Quentin Allen is going to get third down, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yep.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I have faith in Liam Cohen to like not play Quentin Allen. You know, so I'm not. I don't know if I'm like really buying that, but yeah, it could be correct. I'm not like completely doubting it, but I do think it's going to be Tootin. I'm still fine taking him. I could take my tight end here, but I'm trying not to, just because there's so many good tight ends late. Like that, you have to go with where the value is, I think. Speaking of value, Jordan Addison is still here, and you don't have to worry about quarterback for now. Although Carson Wentz could be the backup if they trade McCarthy, so that's what I would be rooting for if Murray were to go down.
Now, after you're done making these picks, I'm curious to know whether or not you would have taken Sam Laporta if he got there.
No. I have a tight end ranked ahead of him.
Okay.
I don't want to say it in a draft, although I did talk about DJ Moore when he was not drafted. But that's usually my role. Is like I don't want to do that. I've told the story before. I don't think I told it to you. Like that rule kind of stems from a league that I used to be in. Unfortunately, the commissioner passed away, but he used to have a rule where if you were on the clock and you said if you said a name, any name, that would be your pick. And so that really backfired for some guy because he was on the board for the first round. And it was like pick 6 or 5, and he was like, yeah, and he's an Eagles fan. He's like, I'm going to take Michael Westbrook, and so so the guy has that stickers like, okay, Michael Westbrook on the board, and so the next guy's like, I'll take Brian Westbrook. He's the guy who drafts Michael Westbrook. He's like, wait, I drafted him. It's like, no, he took Michael Westbrook, and he's like, it's just like, so he had to take Michael Westbrook in the first round.
Wow. I mean, I drafted in the first round of the real draft, but yeah, he didn't have a great career. Who was that he got in a fight? Remember he got in a fight in training camp?
It's vaguely familiar. It's so long ago.
It was like probably like 35 years ago. But
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean that's wild. He was promising. Like he had a high upside. He just never lived up to it. But yeah, I mean Brian Westbrook was a first round running back for a while. Yeah. So and there's another event in that league where someone got forced into taking Marcel Shipp in the second round because like he was like he was on the clock and he didn't realize it. And he was like making fun of the names, like, who's this Marcel Shipp guy? And the guy's like, oh, you got Marcel Shipp. It's like, what? So there's like very, very strict rules there. I don't know why they implemented them, but they had them. And unfortunately, the league is no longer active. It was a very fun league. I do miss it. It actually stopped during COVID because they were convinced that the NFL wasn't gonna happen during COVID. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no way Roger Goodell is not going to make money here. But anyway, so you're going to be up in second, but we had a couple of rookies, well, 4 rookies go here. I led the chart. You're up here. I led the charge with Stribling at 10:01, and then we had a run on them. We had Boston at 10:03, Lemon at 10:05, Concepcion at 10:06. Is that early to take any of these guys, or do you think that's the right range for them?
No, I think that's a little bit early for Boston. A week or so, we were getting him in the 13th round, and I thought that his ADP was going to rise a little bit more than it did. Now I've seen him going in the 12th, but still right around that same range. For Stribling, he's going in the 9th round now. There are a couple of drafts I've seen where he's gone in the 8th. So, that's great value on him. And then same with Concepcion. I think yesterday really boosted him. He's a fine pick in the 10th round. He goes in the late 9th, 10th round. And Higgins, his ADP just keeps creeping up, unfortunately. So I haven't been able to get him yet. Well, my draft tonight, I wasn't able to get him.
No, Lemon went 10:05. I think that's too early for him.
Yeah. So Lemon fits into that same category I was talking about with Cyrus Allen.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's going to end up on waivers in a redraft league, and then just pick him up after week 3 or 4 if you want him that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want any part of. He's got very, very strange things off the field. And I don't think that it's not a lock that he makes it through the season in the NFL. Just pointing that out. It's like if Christian Wilkins could get banished, then he can too. So anyway, we had Debo come off the board. You took Brian Robinson, who I would have had interest in. Caleb Douglas goes. That's interesting. That's I've seen him. It's the earliest I've seen him, but given the just the appeal recently with like him being the receiver 1, I can understand it. Okay, so you want to talk about your picks, Marshawn Lloyd and Brian Robinson, just taking running backs there?
Yeah, so I think Lloyd is the high upside guy. Everybody talks about the injuries. That is a problem. He's been injured for so long that a lot of people also forget that ball security is a major issue with him. I think he had 9 fumbles in college. But the way LaFleur uses his running backs, if anything happens with Jacobs, whether it's suspension or an injury at some point, Lloyd is probably going to be the bell cow there, at least until he gets hurt or loses a bunch of fumbles. So, by all accounts, he's looked electric with the ball in his hands in camp. He took all the first team reps in the preseason game the other day. So, if you look at this team, if this were an actual team, this team would need Marshawn Lloyd to take over as the Packers starting running back in order to overcome that running back 2 spot.
Yeah, I think it's always good to own those type of running backs in redraft leagues, like one or 2 of them, because waivers happens, Bijan goes down, like that's the top priority, and you can use them or you can trade them. There's so much more value there, much more so than best ball. So I always try to stash like 1 or 2 of those handcuffs on my team. Not necessarily my handcuffs, but other people's handcuffs. So I got that pick. I was going to take Jacoby Lane, by the way, at 11-12 had he fallen to me, but he was taken 11-7. So much for that. And Worthy goes. So there's still some decent receivers left, and that's why I just want running backs just so much earlier. Just it's so scarce. Like there's really no one left that you can rely on, and you can just have good receivers here. The tight end, by the way, I like is still on the clock. It's still on the board. So
I'm guessing it's got to be Dalton Kincaid.
Nope, it's Dallas.
Oh, Goddard. Oh yeah, I knew that. I didn't realize Goddard was still on the board.
Yeah, I know, right? It's pretty crazy. I don't know why he's not going earlier. Like he's going to have a huge year. Like we know what Hurts does. Just read 1, read 2, and then run. And Goddard's going to be read 2 this year. I think Jalen Coker, like him in PPR more so than standard. It's not an exciting pick. I wanted Jacoby Lane there. That'd be more exciting. But Coker is just going to get the job done. I took high upside here with Stribling and James Williams too. So I felt like I just want someone safer at 12:01. It's just mine. This is 16 round. So we assuming that if you want to draft kicker and defense, you can. You don't have to, but I usually just do it just to just make it look good for people watching. But we talked about this before. Like if you're drafting now for your redraft league and you don't have to take a kicker or defense, just don't do it. Just draft the high upside sleepers. I've been in leagues where commissioners have forced us to draft a kicker and defense. And it shouldn't surprise you that league where if you mention a name, you get the guy. Like they would force they would force you to take a kicker or defense. Like if you left the draft without a kicker or defense, like I got called. It's like, no, you have to have a kicker. And so like I'd have to drop someone. And I got so tilted by it that like I would just make up random kicker names. Like I would just mention other people in the league. Like I'm taking Gary Smith. And he's like, who's that? It's like, our friend. I'm gonna take him as my kicker. so he just got like, he just give me like a random kicker after that. But I don't know. Like I said, I do miss that league. But
I feel like, was that league not PPR? I feel like these old school guys who run these old school leagues, they're like standard, no points per reception, kicker, defense.
Yes,
we've been running this league the same way since 1971.
Yeah, you were totally right about that. In fact, like we had to beg him to go to flex. we didn't have flex for a long time, and like it was QB, running back, receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, and it was like quarterbacks are worth so much more because there's 2 receivers and no flex. That like you just had to draft your quarterback earlier. And also there was a weird scoring system. It was instead of 10 yards per point for rushing and running and receiving, it was 20 yards per point. And so you would have like, it was touchdowns are still 6 points. So it was very heavily touchdown based. And how it worked, like kickers are still the same. So like if you drafted if you got like, for example, let's say like if you got 140 rushing yards from your running back, it was 7 points, right? If you got a 40-yard field goal and a 30-yard field goal from your kicker, that was also 7 points. And maybe throw an extra point in there, that's 8 points. Your kicker with 2 field goals and an extra point outscored your 140-yard rusher. You know,
that's kind of how all those leagues are. I'm actually in one of those leagues. I'm just gonna make my pick here real quick, but I'm actually in one of those leagues with my buddy Ray, and it's his family friend. And they've been running this league since before we were born. We're 43 now. Yeah. So it's the same deal where like they have a salary cap system, but defenses are the most expensive salary. Mm-hmm. So it's like really difficult to fit defenses on your salary, under your salary cap. And I remember the first time I went to this draft, it's finally online now, but you know, it was in person a couple of years, and we got like 3 rounds in, and they took out a deck of cards and they started drawing cards. I'm like, what is happening? and Ray's like, yeah, this is their system. It's like a 3rd round reversal, but it's not. It's based off what card you get from the deck. It's like I just picked up like a jack of spades, and that means I get those old school leagues don't make any sense, but you know, I love them anyway. I'll join any fantasy league.
If you get like the Suicide King, are you like banished from the league? Is that how that works?
Probably, yeah.
Like if you like get like tarot cards out there, it's like you get death. It's like you're out. You automatically lose the league. Can you imagine drafting like that? You got Jaden Blue and Ray Davis, so you continue to add running backs there. So why those 2?
Yeah, I mean, again, just going high upside. Jaden Blue, I'm very surprised by his usage the other day. He took most of the first team reps, obviously with Javonte Williams not playing, but I didn't think that that's how they would use him. I kind of looked at him as sort of like in the same vein as like a Dylan Sampson, the running back, the 3rd down back for the Browns. Where if Judkins gets hurt, I would expect Raheem Sanders to be the backup running back, and then Dylan Sampson would still just be the 3rd down back, and maybe he'd get a few more touches or a few more reps than he normally would. And I kind of looked at Jaden Blue the same way, with Phil Maffa being sort of like the backup thumper, with Blue maybe getting worked in a little bit more. But he got a lot of touches. I think it was yesterday. Yeah. So, who knows? Maybe it was just a weird, quirky preseason week 1 thing, or maybe he really is the true handcuff there. And then Ray Davis, again, Ty Johnson gets in the way. We've talked about that a bunch. But if James Cook gets hurt, Ray Davis is going a little bit too low in these drafts. Tank Bigsby was a good value there, by the way. The guy picking first, I like that value a lot.
Yeah, I was hoping for him on the way back. I like that pick a lot. I also like Trey Tucker. It's a kid, no name. Usually drafts extremely well with us. Yeah, you drafted the 2 running backs. I was hoping for Emmett Johnson. I was hoping for Tank Dell. I was hoping for Zachariah Branch. They all went off the board, and so I had to like scan through like the top players available because I wasn't ready for it. It's like I stopped crossing all players after round 12. Not I don't always do that. I just like we were talking, and I think we were talking about like our leagues, and I was just like, oh, I just forgot. So now that just kicker and defense left, I don't really need to do that. So we had let's see, we got rid of kicker and double flex. So in this league I'm in that I said I'm drafting 12th. The commissioner, she did something interesting. She got rid of kicker, but she added kicker to defense. So your defense also carries your kicker. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature.
Yeah, that's a nice wrinkle. I like that.
Yeah. We had a debate in my main league, which I've been in since 2003 or maybe 02. Like Kenny, who does the show with me on Tuesdays, like he's been like for years, he's been like, we need to get rid of kicker. There's so much variance there. And I sent a message to Kenny. I'm like, dude, stop saying that. Like, we need these idiots to draft kickers early. It's like, it's just like an advantage, you know. Like, there's really no purpose to drafting a kicker early or defense early. And we haven't seen any of that yet in this draft, so that's a good sign. So the people know what they're doing. So. But in that league where I talked about where your kicker would like often outscore every position except quarterback, people were taking kicker in the 6th round, like the top kicker, like they would do it, and like then someone else take a kicker in the 7th round. It was crazy. Like it's just, your kicker was so important. Your kicker was like the MVP of your team. It's just like it made no sense.
The league I was telling you about, it was very similar because it was like I said, defense was hard to fit under the salary cap, but kicker was as well. And they had this rule where all rookies cost $1. So since kickers were so expensive, rookie kickers were going in like the 3rd round, like just random. I mean, I'm hesitant to even say undrafted because a lot of kickers are undrafted, but random undrafted, just bad kickers were getting drafted ahead of like really good players. So yeah, those leagues are, I mean, whatever. I mean, they were playing fantasy football in the 80s and 90s. So
I know.
I'm just happy that they started the leagues. We should give them credit for starting those leagues back then.
Did you do leagues? When did you start playing fantasy? What age?
My first fantasy team, I drafted rookie Marshall Faulk.
Nice.
So I want to say 1993.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would think 94 or so. I remember being in middle school, and we used to have the commissioner used to bring in a newspaper, and during lunch he would calculate the scores because no one knew how if they won or not. Like you probably have like a good idea because you're like, oh, my guys did well, but you didn't know about your opponent's guys. Like you didn't even know who your opponents were playing. Like you had to like ask your opponent.
You write it down on a piece of paper. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to submit your lineup, you had to call your commissioner. Is that how you did it?
So my first league was a 4-team league with my uncle, his wife, and my grandmother.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I had going on in 1993.
Okay, we had, my friend Joel used to run the league, and I used to have to call him every Sunday morning to submit my lineup. And he would judge it. He'd be like I once I had my quarterbacks one year my quarterbacks one year were John Elway and Jeff Hostetler. And Hostetler was like on this hot streak, and Elway had he had a couple of games in a row where he wasn't very good. And so I called Joel that Sunday morning. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna start Hostetler at quarterback. And he's like, "Are you sure about that?" It's like, can you imagine like your ESPN app was like, you submit your quarterback, and they're like, "Are you sure about that?" Like that's how it was. So
Hopefully he hit James Jett deep that day.
oh yeah. Those are the days. Yeah. I don't know if I had the stack. I didn't as a 12-year-old, I didn't know about stacking quite yet, right? But uh that was yeah, that was funny. Like it's like some of the old names they used to have. I had Jerry Rice the year he tore his ACL.
Oh
Um
wow.
I know it's like the one down year he had because of injury. Like that's the year I had Jerry Rice. So my bad luck has lasted for a long time. Um Okay, Gadsden goes. And Njoku went. It's funny that both Charger tight ends went. All right. I'm going to draft defense and kicker. I have to remember who these teams are playing. Baltimore is playing the Colts, so that could be Daniel Jones struggling. So I'm going to take Baltimore. And for kicker, we're going to go with. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Finken and Einhorn. We're going to go with.
Nice.
Gonna go with the Ace Ventura Pet Detective, which had a lot more swearing than I remember. Because I thought I was like trying to think of like what movies, non-animated movies my son might like, and it just dawned on me like, okay, Ace Ventura Pet Detective, and granted you have like the think on Einhorn nonsense.
Right.
I don't know if he'd quite understand that, but I think he would have found like the Jim Carrey animal voices pretty funny. There's like one curse word right away. I'm like, like, is this gonna be a thing? And then like there's like 10 more. I'm like, okay, we gotta shut this off. I totally
I don't
forgot.
remember that either.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, why is so much cursing in here? Like it could have been like a kids movie almost, except for the transvestite stuff. but still, it's like it's a funny thing. I don't know. I remember being a kid, like being a teenager watching that, and like I was like, aha, like it wasn't like a big deal or anything. It's funny that like they did that then, and things are different now. Who's R Jones?
That's Redford Jones,
Nice.
who I've never heard of before in my entire life, but I found him at the bottom of the kicker queue.
Nice.
And yeah, I apologize. My brain power, I think, is gone from my FFPC draft. But Redford Jones is a member of my team.
There you go. It's the only person to ever draft Redford Jones.
Yep.
That's awesome. You imagine if like Redford Jones is watching this. It's like, oh my god, that's me. or thinking maybe. All right. So you drafted before I did. So you were third overall. How do you think your team panned out? If you want to review it real quickly.
Oh yeah. So I mean, running back too is a mess here, and I think some of the running backs went a little bit early, and I tried to scoop up value in other places. But in a real league, I would not want Chris Rodriguez as my running back too. Now, the way this team could win is by keeping Chris Rodriguez kind of like in that lineup for 2 or 3 weeks and hanging on with some of the talent that I have at the other positions. And then one of these other running backs kind of takes off, Lloyd or Blue or Ray Davis. I really like, I got sniped on Mike Washington by the guy right in front of me in the whatever round now, the 12th round. I like Mike Washington as well, but he's not going to help this team because he's not on it.
Yeah. Is there any decision you made in this draft that you'd be like, oh, I regret that. I should have done something differently?
No, so I like to have those running backs that have clear defined like big workloads, and they just went really high in this draft. So I mean, Breece Hall, that's very. I thought I was higher on Breece Hall than anybody else, and he was long gone. In the third round, I didn't really want any of those running backs in that round. I thought, maybe Jacobs or David Montgomery or Kinshawn Judkins will get back to me, and then I'll take, one of them in either Swift or Price in the fifth round. That just didn't happen. So scooped up value, and again, I hate that running back 2 spot, but if you look at this team, McBride is an advantage. Caleb Williams has a chance to be an advantage. Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, DJ Moore is the wide receiver 3. Odunze or Harrison in that last flex spot. I mean, that has a chance to carry the day, because as we know, when the fantasy season starts, the team that wins isn't usually the team that has exactly 13 points from every player in the lineup. You're looking for those big spike weeks, and I do think this team has a lot of those big spike week type players.
Yeah, that's for sure. Receivers look great too, and you have one of the top scoring tight ends. For me, I took running backs early, as want to do. Receivers also. If I had a regret in this draft, I think it's Jalen Hurts at 801. When I said that, when I made the pick, I'm like, you know what? I think some of these receivers might fall back to me. Those receivers being, Cortland Sutton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Romeo Doubs, Shakir to an extent, Golden, Downs. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get one of those guys. Like, no, they all went. So my thesis was wrong. So I think in hindsight, I would have taken Wan'Dale Robinson, who I like a lot in PPR. I think he's just gonna have a huge season with catches. He had 5 targets the other day, and like no one else had more than 2. And I was kind of like reinforcing what I thought would happen. Now I did get Addison and Stribling here, but I mean. And I'm fine with that, I guess. So maybe it's like not too much of a regret, but I think Wan'Dale would have been better there, better than Hurts. And I mean, who knows? Maybe Hurts would have fallen back to me. Like the quarterbacks go really late in this draft. I always feel like you can get good ones later than you should be able to. Like for example, Purdy went round 12, Lawrence went round 12, Dart went round 12. Like all these guys are solid starters. So I don't know. I think Hurts is okay. Goddard, I was considering him at 9-12 or 2 at 10-01. And I got him 11-12. So tight ends can usually go later than you think. Like for example, like Dalton Schultz did not get drafted. Pat Fryermuth did not get drafted. Darren Waller just got signed, didn't get drafted. Greg Dulcich did not get drafted. Like these are all like decent tight ends, and I think that's where the value is this year. So I'm all for waiting on tight ends unless you get like one of the elite guys. All right, so yeah, I mean it's a solid team. I think I'd be happy with this. But yeah, I think it's okay. So let's review some of the teams that stayed on. Like we had Kid No, like we're not gonna review the auto drafters, but Kid No Name, he started with kind of like what I did with 3 running backs in the first 4 picks, and they took Josh Allen at 501, which I say no to Josh Allen in round 3, but 501 that's good value. So he got Gibbs, Collins, Javonte Williams, Tootin. I like that start. I know you're not as high on Tootin, but I like him. Dobbins is a bit of a risk, but he's a starter at least. And the Thomas, I'm not very high on Thomas, but then I really like Dobbs. Krosky Merritt has some upside. I feel like if you have like this start with running back, like you don't really need Krosky Merritt there. Like you could have taken another receiver. I think that's like, I'm looking at this. This is the only thing I would change. And also like Kittle's the only tight end. He may not play week 1. Like it's still up in the air. He might do it, but and I understand like you could just drop someone like Adnan Mitchell and pick up a tight end if needed. So I get it, but I think a really good draft overall. What do you think about Kid No Name's team?
Yeah, I really like it. As I mentioned, I think the Jeremiah Love injury has now made it very difficult to be picking with one of these first few picks, just because I don't love the running back depth that comes back unless Breece Hall comes back, and he didn't here. But he did a good job picking up Nico Collins there after Gibbs. And I mentioned that I don't like Tootin at the end of the 4th round. That's where he's been going. I don't think that was a reach at all. Josh Allen in the 5th round is just tremendous. Quarterback's a volatile position, but Josh Allen has been QB1 overall pretty consistently. Brian Thomas, I actually don't mind that. I know Parker Washington looks like the guy there, but Brian Thomas was a wide receiver 1 as a rookie. Had a bad year last year. Now everybody says that he looks like he's better than he was as a rookie. I think that the concern would be there's just so many skill position players there that it's going to be hard, right? Because there's going to be Parker Washington weeks. There's going to be, I'm sure there'll be Travis Hunter weeks. There'll be a Jacoby Myers week thrown in there. even Brenton Strange is pretty good. But I don't mind that pick at all. I actually like it. Dubs could have a much different role with the Patriots than he had with the Packers. So, I like that. And the Deebo Samuel pick, that's great value down there. So I really like what he did. I think it's dicey having to pick a running back in that early third round now.
Yeah. I think although I do like Javonte Williams, but yeah, I do agree that it's a lot tougher now with Jeremiah Love's injury for sure. So Daddy Falcons had he was an auto draft, and I believe Fawcett and Packer fan were also, but there were three guys in the middle: Sloppy, Stakes, Mega, Alexandra, and Miller Time. They were all here, so we could look at those teams. So Sloppy went 3 receivers in a row with JSN, Jefferson, and Ibuka. Assuming Ibuka is okay, that's his receivers look awesome. But let's see what the running backs look like. So he took Jadarian Price and Jalen Warren. I think Dowdle's going to be the running back there just because he's played under McCarthy, and so the incumbent role doesn't really mean as much because they have a new coaching staff. Jonah Coleman, I like. Charbonnet, we talked about him maybe returning earlier. Pacheco, not big on Pacheco, but I think considering that he went triple running back, it's a start. I think these running backs are okay. Rather than 2 tight ends here, I would have taken a 6th running back instead, or instead of like Shaheed, I would have taken another running back just because like you're so top heavy at running back that like top heavy at receiver, like you need another running back, and I think that like maybe instead of Shaheed you take a running back here, and then instead of Sadiq you take a receiver. That's what I would change, but there's definitely upside here. Mike Evans I'm not crazy about just because his age and hamstring issues. Mega Alexandrios, he did the opposite. He took clearly the opposite, like triple running back and double receiver, and then running back instead of receiver. It's funny how different they were there. Cook, Hall, and Scatterbo, I think for me looks great. And then Corum Manungai. Watch Manungai's injury; he got hurt today. Otherwise, I think this is a great start for your running backs. Receivers: Flowers, McLaurin, Pittman. We'll see about his injury. He's not practicing now, but if he comes back in the next couple of weeks, I like him. Down, same thing. He's banged up, but if he comes back, I like him. Concepcion, we talked about. Lane. I really like this draft. We'll see about Butte with the trade possibility. It seems like they're trying to showcase him. Emmett Johnson, I like late. I like that he waited on quarterback. I like that he waited on tight end. I like this team a lot. And then the third team, Miller Time, a little bit different here. So I talked about how instead of St. Brown, I'd go Hampton or Barkley or Genty. And then Lamb, I thought great value. Loveland, I think that I would rather go running back. I would have rather have gone Montgomery. Or if you're confident that Jacobs is not going to be suspended, I'd rather go one of those guys, and then you could have doubled down with Judkins, and then gone more receiver running back. I know Mike Mike likes the early tight ends more so than me, so it's kind of like this it's what you believe in, it's the strategy. Like I just think you can get good tight ends late, but Loveland's just gonna be awesome for you still. Anyway, Henderson I don't like here. He just. I guess the fact that he went later than Stevenson's okay. I'm usually seeing him go earlier than Stevenson. Wilson, I think, has high potential. Jones, he's old and banged up, but he did look good in the preseason. Yeah, Prescott is a fine pick. Kincaid, he's not going to be fully in tune with the offense because of his knee injury. Like he even said that he's going to see a downtick in production. So I'd be worried about that. But I do like the other picks. Allen, we talked about, like not crazy about that, and Lemon, not a fan. But I think overall a good draft. So what do you think about these 3 teams?
Yeah, so it's really hard to start with 3 receivers. And I mean, I pretty much did the same thing. McBride's a tight end. It's really hard to start with 3 receivers this year. And you look at Price in the 4th round. It's a little bit of the running backs went early. So it's hard to call it a reach because a lot of these running backs went early. But I heard the same thing with you with Warren. It sounds like it's going to be a timeshare, but Dowdle might have like 55% of that. No, my running backs aren't that good either. I think he overdid it a little bit at receiver though, because you mentioned Shaheed, even Quentin Johnston. Once you got into that range, like I was eyeing Kenny Gainwell on the way back to me. He got picked before I could take him, but he took Quentin Johnston over Kenny Gainwell. Gainwell's not anything special, but that's a really good offensive line they have in Tampa Bay. This is full point PPR. He's going to catch passes. So, I would have liked that pick. I think, you might have even been able to start him over one of those other backs. And then Rashid Shaheed, there's just really no need for him there. That could have been another running back as well.
Yeah.
And the next team so this is kind of like getting into how you probably want to start your drafts once you get past, those real big top receivers. Once you get to the middle of the first round, certainly the end of the first round, you could really start with 2 running backs. It just makes sense to do that. And he did. Again, I said that was early for Hall. I like that pick though. I don't have a problem with it at all. I actually like him over Derrick Henry too. So I like that pick a lot. Scatterbo, maybe a little bit early considering he started with 2 running backs. But I love Blake Corum. He fit Corum and Monangai fit that category of back that I was kind of talking about earlier where, sure, they might not be full-time starters, but with a Kyron Williams or DeAndre Swift injury, and I know Monangai's a little bit banged up, it sounds like he's fine. They are league winners. So you and I always talk about it. They're running backs where if their starter went to go get orange juice right now at midnight and tore his ACL, these guys would be going in the 2nd and 3rd round. So I really like those picks. And he did a really nice job of scooping up value at wide receiver, sort of the buzz guys, right? With Josh Downs, KC Concepcion, and Jacoby Lane. So I like what he did. And then, again, Miller Time, sort of the same type draft as me. He got Judkins in the 4th round, though. Really like that pick. Actually, don't mind Travion Henderson in the middle of the 6th round. If he just plays as much as he did last year, he had 1,100 yards last year. I don't know how, but and certainly if Stevenson gets hurt or if Henderson overtakes him, that's a home run in the 6th round. And then he took a shot with Wilson. Again, Jones and Lemon, I'm kind of with you on that. Kamara, I didn't really need to make that pick, but I like that draft.
Okay, so Chuck Laff, I think, was on auto draft. So talk about the 2 other teams, Blazarian and Joey Russo. Blazarian also went triple running back with Taylor, Walker, and Jacobs. I'm not as high on this because Taylor, like in that situation in Indianapolis, it could really backfire if Jones is not healthy and the receivers can't get on the field. Walker, it's just okay. I'm not a big fan of Kansas City offense, but given how early the running backs are going, I think it's fine. And Jacobs, I'm kind of curious to hear your take on that, given that we heard a report from Schefter saying that he could still be suspended. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen. And then he also took Pollard. So he took 4 running backs in the first 6 rounds, which I think is a good strategy this year. And then receiver, he went receiver heavy after that. He took Garrett Wilson. I like him. Adams in the 5th. I think it's fine. We saw Adams go in the 4th earlier in the summer. 5th is fine for him. Metcalf at 7'10", not big on his role in that offense. I like him as a player, just don't like the fit there. And Sutton, I think that I'd rather have Sutton than Waddle, but that's just me. Denzel Boston, we like him. Worthy, I know you're a fan of him there. And then Branch, he sniped me with Branch. I liked Branch a lot there. And then he did the right thing, I think, waiting quarterback Jackson Dart. There's risk with him, but you can just pick up someone who wasn't drafted, and there's some decent ones who are going to be on the waiver wire. And then tight end Kyle Pitts. I'm not like huge on Kyle Pitts, but Tua was targeting him like crazy in that first preseason game. Not really a good showing for the Falcons. I think they could be one of the worst teams in the league. And then Joey Russo took a lot of risky players. Now I do like Brown and Achane at the start, but he took a lot of risky players. I should say I also do like Washington. Irving, not as much, but he's okay. Chris Olave has blood clots in his lungs and a concussion history. So, but 311, I think is fine because like we've seen him go late 2nd, early 3rd. I think like that's not too bad. RJ Harvey, I don't know how much he plays this year. He kind of sucks. And Alec Pierce, this is what I'm talking about. Like Alec Pierce, he is. I don't know when he's going to play. Like this reminds me of Chris Godwin last year. Like everyone thinks he's going to make it back for week 1 or week 2, like early in the summer. And now people like, oh, he's injured. He has this foot problem. And like, I don't know if he going to play by October. I don't know. So that's an issue. Laporta's coming off the injury, but sounds like he's okay. And then Judy may not be on the team for all we know. Like, this guy's such a bum. And McMillan's also injured, and Gadsden's not even playing right now. He's on special teams. So yeah, so a few picks here and there that I didn't like, but some picks that I did like too. So kind of a mixed bag there. So what do you think about these two teams?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Chuck because I see Chuck's in the chat and he said he didn't auto draft.
Okay, I'll review Chuck's team also after you then.
Okay, yeah, I really like how he started. I think the stuff that came out earlier this week about Hampton being in a three-way committee, I think that's overblown. You know, Keaton Mitchell's really a change of pace back. That's all he is. And Kamani Vidal's okay. He's got value. But if you look at how they deployed them in the first preseason game, it sure looks like Hampton is the starter. He didn't play. Vidal is the backup. He did play. And then Keaton Mitchell, I think they just know they can't put him on the field without him getting injured, so he didn't play either. But I like that pick. And then Chase Brown, you could really look at those two picks as being interchangeable. Okay, I saw a main event draft, an FFPC main event draft the other day. This is from earlier this week. That's a $2,200 entry where Chase Brown was the fourth overall pick in that draft, which I think maybe that guy thought he was getting Jamar Chase and Chase Brown with that pick. We'll do that. But I love the value here. Mid-second round, that's a great start. McConkey, that's the way I kind of look at drafting in this range is you have a bucket of running backs that go in that late first, early second. He took two of them. Then in the third, fourth, you kind of have a bucket of receivers that go in that range. He took two of them. I like that a lot. He took May. Stevenson's a starter for now, at least. I really like Jordan Mason. I think that I know they say it's going to be 50-50 with Aaron Jones. I think Mason's he's going to end up kind of taking over there. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, you talked about the volume that he's had. He's had I think the sixth most receptions of any receiver in the NFL over the course of the last two seasons, which is crazy. They're all 1-yard catches, but still, this is a PPR league. And then he took Fannin. Fannon's got to worry about Stefanski's gone. Concepcion and Boston are there, but Fannin should still be, very good. Diggs is a great value there. I really like what you did there, Chuck. And then you hit on the other two teams. I like starting with Taylor and Walker. He probably didn't need Jacobs there. I don't mind Jacobs once you get to like the middle of the fourth round. Again, that's my kind of like high stakes mentality. If you take him in the middle of the fourth round and he's suspended for a game or two, I could live with it because I think he's a second round pick if we knew for sure that he wasn't going to be suspended. He took Garrett Wilson in the fourth round. Love that. I'm out on Adams. And then it kind of dropped off a little bit from here for me. Tony Pollard, just not a lot of upside. I talked about him. I like Metcalf. That's fine. Sutton, I mean, whatever. That's not terrible, but he doesn't have a ton of upside. I think with Metcalf and Sutton, you get two guys who you're okay putting in your lineup, but they're not finishing above wide receiver 20 overall. That's their ceiling. I like Pitts with Stefanski there. And then he took Worthy late. It's a pretty good draft. And then the last guy that you talked about, Joey Russo, I can't get on board with A.J. Brown at the end of the first round. It could work out. But for me, that's, again, where I'm taking two running backs almost every time. I do really like Olave at the end of the third round. We don't know what's going on with Jordan Tyson, but that's a fast-paced offense. Olave is going to get a ton of targets. And then Washington's fine there. RJ Harvey's not going to do anything. I don't like that pick. Algier might get a couple weeks as the starter in the beginning of the year, and he might get a few weeks as the starter if Love gets shut down now at the end of the year. Pierce isn't going to play. Don't like that. And I do like Laporta there at the end of the ninth round.
So sorry, Chuck. I for some reason I thought you were an auto draft, but that's my mistake. I really like your team. Now the one thing I would say is that he stacked a bunch of his pieces without the quarterbacks. Like he took Hampton and McConkey, both in the Chargers, and Brown and Higgins, both in the Bengals. you can get in trouble with that if you're drafting like bad offenses or mediocre offenses. But yeah, Chargers and Bengals we expect to be high scoring, so I think that's okay. Ideally, I would have liked a quarterback to pair with one of those. Like either take Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, but he got Drake May, and so I think Drake May could be a league winner. Like I think there's a good chance that he's the QB1 this year. So yeah, I don't mind that. And plus he did pair May with Stevenson. Stevenson will catch some passes. So I liked what he did overall there. Robinson moving forward. Robinson, even Mason. I think a solid fourth running back. Fannin. I don't like taking tight ends in the first 9 or 10 rounds, but if I'm going to take one in that range, it's certainly going to be Fannin. I think he could have a huge year. Diggs is okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Same with Marks. Fields I love. I think he could be really good this year. It sounds like he's the second receiver there right now, and like who knows with Neighbors? Like Neighbors could just miss some time, and Fields could take over as the receiver one. I do love Flournoy as well. Spears and PPR is fine. So Chuck, I like your team. So sorry, I'm not sure why I thought your all drafts. So thanks for pointing that out. But yeah, it was a really good draft as well. Okay, so we have. You didn't mean to pick AJ. There you go. I don't mind AJ. Like I feel like I do want double running back at the end there, but I think AJ Brown could have one of the best seasons of any receiver. This may sound crazy. Everyone has Jamar Chase receiver one. I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Brown's receiver one this year, just because we've seen Brown produce at a first round level, and he's never had a good passing quarterback in his career. He's had Tannehill, Mariota, Hurts, Minshew, and McKee have been his 5 quarterbacks. And May was the best downfield throw in the NFL last year. And he had Diggs and Boutte as the top 2 receivers. And he was relying on Matt Collins. I think AJ Brown could just be out of this world this year. So he's the one guy I don't mind at the end, personally, but that's just me. Okay, so you had a high stakes draft here.
Real quick though, team four. This guy wants us to review team 4 real quick.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. I see that now. Okay. Let's review team 4. Then we'll get to your high stakes draft. Okay. So he started with Puka, which, I was on board for. I don't know what just happened here. Okay. There we go. I was on board with Puka at number 4 before his latest incident, and also the report saying that from Schefter saying that he might be suspended to start the year. I don't think the suspension is going to be long. It could be a couple games, but still something to keep in mind. You don't want to miss your first 2 games from your number 4 overall pick. And so for me, I'm just not drafting Nakua. It feels like he's kind of slowly losing his mind. I don't know what's going on there. It's so strange. They took Henry and Love. Henry in PPR is not ideal, and he's 31, but running backs were flying off the board, so I can understand it. Love, he has the high ankle sprain. I would really like this pick if he weren't injured, but he is. And then he took. I hate Waddle. He's the pyramid scheme we talked about before. And I like Burden there, although he's banged up. But then Jordan Tyson has hamstring issues now. I would have loved this pick 3 weeks ago, but now he's dealing with the hamstring issues, and this is not a new development. This is something that he struggled with in college, and now it's resurfacing in the NFL. Man, that's tough. Dowdle's fine. Herbert's fine there. I love Caleb Douglas there. You were talking about Mike Washington being a good value. Kraft's, as you said, Kraft's a little banged up and may not be 100% to start the year. I think Jacoby Myers is kind of like this generation's Wayne Corbett. Remember him? He was great if you're rooting for the team, if you're rooting for the Jets, or you bet the Jets. He's always clutch on third down. What was it? Nickens the flashlight. But in fantasy, he was just so useless. And I feel like that's Jacoby Myers. He's great. He doesn't drop any passes. He's a coach's dream. He's a solid possession receiver, but he just doesn't do enough for fantasy. And I don't think that he really should be drafted here. And then I wouldn't take 2 quarterbacks in redraft. It'd be one thing if Herbert was a risk. Then it's okay, you took your backup. But Herbert's solid. He's missed 4 games in his career. You don't have to worry about him having any downside. So I think instead of Willis, probably should have drafted a high upside guy. I don't know who that would have been at this point, but someone. You could probably come up with someone. So what did you think about Falsette's team?
Yeah, I mean, with the tiebreaker now, I'm kind of moving away from Puka, and I'd rather draft Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I mean, that could very well work out. I mean, if Nakua is not suspended and he stays healthy, that could very well work out. I like Derrick Henry with that pick, especially the way the running backs went. I think that's where he probably should go. That's where he's been going in drafts. And a lot of these other backs got picked a lot earlier. Now, you'd certainly be forgiven to not have heard the news that Jeremiah Love, in fact, has a high ankle sprain. It didn't break until like 8:15 tonight and Sunday night. With that said, you can't draft him in the third round anymore, though. I would consider him in the fifth round, but
Yeah.
I'm not taking him before then at this point. With Jalen Waddle, I'm open to being wrong about Jalen Waddle. I feel like Walt, you and I are kind of in the minority on him. That's about where he's been going, so that's fine. Burden in the fifth round, again, fine. Tyson, he's a tough one. I actually drafted him tonight, but I can't get on board with him that early anymore, just because we don't really know what we're getting from him. And in shallower leagues, kind of like this one, like you can't really keep these guys on your roster for a long period of time. In the league I drafted tonight, we have 20-man rosters, so like waivers is pretty barren for the whole year. I'm kind of thinking like, well, maybe I could stash him for later in the year. But Kraft, I really like Kraft. I think this is a good team, and I think everything could break your way, and you could be really good. But I guess my issue would be that there are too many bets on injuries and suspensions that have to go your way.
Yeah, a lot. It's like a lot. There's high upside here, just a lot of downside too. I would just want to be safer. It's fine to take some high upside, like high risk players, but it seems like loaded with them. So I definitely agree with that. Okay, so you drafted in a high stakes league. We're gonna look at it right now. This is the first time I'm looking at it, so I wanted to be surprised here. Okay, so I assume with Brock Bowers 6, this is a 1.5 point PPR for tight ends.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you had, what was your pick? You were
third
oh yeah, you picked third. There you go. Yeah, you told me because that's where you drafted. Okay, so you also took Jamar Chase there. So Gibbs, Robinson, Chase, Puka, Jackson, the Jigga, Bowers, Amon Ra, Christian McCaffrey, CD, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Ashton Jency were the first round. But yeah, do you want to just review what you had here in this draft, or what you were thinking with each pick?
Yeah. So again, I kind of mentioned earlier that weeks 15 through 17 are like a giant tournament. I'm all about upside in these leagues. You've got to take sure bets to a certain extent. But like that's where the tight end kind of argument comes in for these leagues, where you're getting 1.5 PPR for every reception for a tight end. So if you're looking at week 15, 16, and 17, it's really tough to piece together like Juwan Johnson, Jake Ferguson, whoever, Dalton Schultz,
right.
lineup that's going to win $1 million. So tight ends fly off the board in these leagues. The other thing to consider is, as I mentioned, waivers are really not, they're sparse. So you kind of have to almost consider that you have what you're going to need for your lineup on your roster, and maybe you'll get lucky and find a starter at some point during the season, but that's kind of a little bit lucky if you do. So I took Chase here at 3. That was kind of a no-brainer for me. But this is kind of what I was talking about with it getting dicey if you're picking third or fourth, and now it's coming back around to the second and third round.
Yeah.
I don't want to get out of the third round without having at least one running back. I also don't want to be going up against teams that have Brock Bowers or Trey McBride in the tournament. So will Colston Loveland join that tier? Who knows? But I felt like I had to take a chance right there. And we'll see. Breece Hall in the third round was a no-brainer. I was kind of just holding my breath that he would get back to me. I didn't have to think about that one for a second. When we got into the 4th and 5th round, I knew I wanted at least one more running back, possibly 2, depending on how the board fell. Jacobs got back to me at the end of the 4th round. You heard me mention earlier, running back 20, if he gets suspended for a game or 2, whatever. That's going to be early in the season, then late in the season, cold weather. I'm going to have potentially a top 12. And Josh Jacobs could even be a top 6 running back. He'd be going in the 2nd round if he didn't have that concern. When we got to the 5th round, Judkins was still there. And, I kind of said to myself, I have to take Judkins in case Jacobs gets suspended.
Right.
Or in case, one of these receivers that I like kind of falls to me later and I get a little bit thin at running back, because a lot of the handcuffs are, as I mentioned, are rostered, and they're rostered all season. So when I look at those first 5 rounds, I felt like, okay, now I'm pretty much done at tight end. For this team to win, Colston Loveland's going to have to join that top tier of tight ends. At least 2 of those 3 running backs are going to have to stay healthy for the bulk of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got to rounds 6 and 7. I love Marvin Harrison. I looked at this as probably the only team where I'll have Carnell Tate. I almost took Harrison here. I decided to gamble because Tate's ADP was higher, and I thought, maybe there's a chance Harrison gets back to me. He didn't. He got picked right after me. So I took Brian Thomas. Again, it's all upside here. Carnell Tate, week 1, makes me scared. But Carnell Tate for the second half of the season could potentially be a top 15 receiver. Or even if he's a top 20 receiver, that'll help me down the stretch. Brian Thomas, well, we're going to have to see. Is he regaining his form, or is he last year's Brian Thomas, or somewhere in between? But in the 7th round, I had to take the chance on that upside. I almost took Blake Corum there. I knew Blake Corum likely wasn't getting back to me, but even though I had Jamar Chase, and then since I took Carnell Tate as my second receiver, I just felt like I needed to take another receiver at that point. So I took Thomas. And then you see there at the end of the 8th round, they took Jordan Tyson. And I debated that one all the way down to about 3 seconds left on the clock.
With whom? What was the other option?
So that was kind of the issue. I thought maybe I'll take one of these Packers receivers. Mm-hmm. I was hoping DK Metcalf would get back to me, and he'd just be kind of like my solid stabilizing force in this receiver lineup, since I took Tate and Brian Thomas. That didn't happen. So I knew I was taking a quarterback at 9. Okay, the guys picking 1 and 2 already had Lamar Jackson. I thought to myself, one could take Burrow, or he could, one could take Burrow or Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams, but one of those guys is still going to be left for me. So I knew 9 was going to be a quarterback. And it came down to Tyson and one of the Packers receivers. And, I just thought to myself, let's take Tyson, let's stash him, and let's see what we have the second week of the season. I don't even need to play him. So we got back to 9. That was dicey for me there too, because I was between Burrow and Caleb Williams, because I have Loveland and Jamar Chase. I took Burrow. Honestly, it's kind of a coin flip for me. After that, I realized, hey, I have to take some receiver talent here, because Tyson isn't going to play. Tate, early in the season, you don't know what you're going to get. Brian Thomas is dicey. I have Jamar Chase to start the draft, but that's where I went with Worthy, Debo, and Denzel Boston, which I felt like gave me, and then you could see Jacoby Lane down here in the 14th round too. So at that point, I thought, all right, I'm going to be able to get 3 or 4 receivers out of this group. Some of them will be busts. Some of them might, maybe Tyson doesn't ever get healthy this year. So pick at the end of the 8th round. I can live with that. So that I felt like kind of solidified my receiver core. Again, you play 2 flexes here. So, you're looking at playing 3 or 4 receivers every week. I have 3 good running backs. So, I'm probably flexing a running back most weeks, but 3 or 4 receivers, and I have some upside here, and then guys like Debo who are a little bit safer.
Mm-hmm.
And again, worthy at the end of the 10th round. I'll take that bet every time. I took Purdy in the 13th. Again, the way this is a little bit different than the draft we just did is because you're not really going to be able to pick up backup quarterbacks. You could see the guys who got drafted here. Most of the really playable quarterbacks got drafted and they stay rostered. I was between Purdy and Patrick Mahomes there. The reason I took Purdy is because there's a rule in the FFPC where those first 2 games, the Wednesday and Thursday game, you put guys in and out of your lineup after the game's over.
Right.
So with getting to kind of get a free look at Brock Purdy was enticing. So I took Purdy there. And then, I needed a backup tight end. I took Waller. I think Waller has more value than Sadiq. I think he's got more value than Njoku. I think he could be better than some of these other tight ends that got picked ahead of him as well. And then late, so Vidal, in the 16th round, I had 3 running backs. They're 3 good running backs, but I needed to take a shot here on some of these handcuffs, and Vidal, I believe, is that. I've always liked Jalen Wright. He's ahead of Ollie Gordon on the depth chart. He played ahead of Ollie Gordon the other day. So I kind of took a flyer there. And then those last 2 picks are purely based off of the first 4 games of the season, which I'm not drafting Cooper Kupp in a regular league. We could have 100 rounds, and I'm not drafting Cooper Kupp. But I'm taking him here because if he has 3 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown against the Patriots, I can put him in my lineup after the game's over. And then when he most likely doesn't do that, I can drop him Thursday night, and we have a waiver run on, I think it's Sunday morning after the game. I can pick up somebody else and literally have somebody else in my roster for the Sunday game. So that's why awesome. I took him. That's also why I took Harrison Mevis over, Cam Little's better than him. Jake Bates is better than him. But I'm not too concerned about kicker. So I took Mevis and thought, hey, maybe he kicks 3 field goals. If not, I cut him. I could literally pick up a different kicker in his place and play him in week 1. When you have a 12-week regular season, that stuff can matter.
Oh, yeah. That's a really cool strategy. I wonder how many people are aware of it, because I do see like Eddie Pinheiro there in round 20, and a couple of other guys took players from the first 2 games. But like Elijah Arroyo, for example, he went at 2001. Mm-hmm. So like he's aware, but I really wonder if people just don't know about the rules. So that is pretty funny. Okay, yeah. So it's interesting draft here. So it's pretty rare you don't see the 2 rookie receivers in the first round go. But with Tyson falling, I guess that's going to happen. I like that you stack Burrow with Chase. Is this typically a format where you do want to stack?
Well, yeah, just because if you're looking at weeks 15, 16, and 17, if Chase has a huge week where he has 3 touchdowns or something that you need to win $1 million, then Joe Burrow has at least 3 touchdown passes. The interesting thing about it, though, is it's weeks 15, 16, and 17, so you could actually get away with having Burrow with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, because maybe T. Higgins has one big week in week 15, and Jamar Chase has big weeks in week 16 and 17, and then you have Burrow for all 3 of those weeks. But yeah, I mean, I don't force the stack, but it's, if you can, you're probably better off doing it.
Yes, it's kind of like best ball with waivers, and you have to make your lineup.
Yep.
Okay, so that's interesting. I hate making lineups. I hate like doing waivers. I just love drafting. That's why I do so many best ball drafts. I've done like 130 so far. So yeah, a little a little crazy.
No, that's great.
I told this to my friend who like he hasn't really done he's done like a lot of fantasy over the years, but he hasn't really done best ball. And so he sent me our mutual friend's best ball team. He's like, "What do you think about my team?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you did best ball." I'm like, "Your running backs are pretty weak." He's like, "Well, that's not my team. What do you think about now?" Like, so I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not a fan of this team. This looks like a redraft team." And so we got to talking. I'm like, "Yeah, I've done like 130 drafts, best ball drafts." And then he sent me the Michael Jordan meme where he's just saying, "Stop it." So I was like, for me, I'm like, if I can find a liability, I'll exploit it. And he's like, "What's the liability?"
Yeah.
I'm like, a lot of people don't know what they're doing. A lot of people like draft as if it's redraft and they don't really have a clue, or they're drafting just like bad players. And it really becomes the liability for people in playoff best ball, which is my favorite format. Like you draft like 5 other people, so your expected advance rate should be like 16.7%, just 1 out of 6. My advance rate last year in playoff best ball was 37%. I was basically going against like 2 other guys most of the time. So I can't wait for playoff best ball. It's like where that's my favorite thing. It's like a puzzle you have to put together. Like
so they're not factoring in which players are actually going to advance to the next round. They're just taking the best players. Is that what happened?
A lot of that's happening. A lot of guys don't stack their teams. Like you need in playoff best ball, you need to have like a lineup that can win if you get to the Super Bowl, but you also need players to help you advance. So it's like it's you have to like kind of mix and match that way. What you can do, what I love to do, is have like a base team. Like for example, the team that I had that finished 11th, and if I took still can't do it. If I took Mac Hollins instead of Rashid Shaheed in the final round, I would have won 100 grand. Instead, I finished 11th, and I did not win 100 grand or anything close. But still, like for example, like I take a base team, and my base team was like the Patriots, and then I could stack them with 2 other teams from the NFC. So it ended that team actually was a Patriots Seahawks and a Patriots Rams team. Because my first 2 picks were Puka and Drake May, and so. And it really dictates like what you can get in the 3rd round. And I forget what I did in the 3rd round, but like I basically had it so like if the Patriots made it against the Rams or Seahawks, I would have been live to win. And you could basically do that way. And I think also it would have been live with like I want to say like maybe not the Panthers, but one of the lesser teams. I can't remember which one. Maybe the Packers. Because like if you have like you kind of have to think about it this way, like if you have Drake May, you don't need a quarterback from the other conference. If you have like if you had Stevenson and Henderson, you don't need a running back from the other conference. Although I did a Kenneth Walker. I think that may have been my 3rd pick. I'm not sure. If you have like 2 receivers, you only need 1 receiver from each other team in the conference. And that's why really it should have been Hollins instead of Shaheed. I don't know what I was thinking. And then like if Hunter Henry's your tight end, you don't need a tight end for the other team. And so like you just have to figure out what you need from the other conference. And then you take like, say your Patriots stack doesn't have a 3rd receiver or a tight end. And so if you're taking NFC players, you take like Devontae Adams or Cooper Kupp or Shaheed or whoever. And then you take your tight end, you take Parkinson or something, or one of the Seattle tight ends, and then like that's how you build that. But so you have your baseline team and then other teams, and so like if Packers made sense because I took like Christian Watson late, and I took or not, maybe it was I forget. I think it was the Christian Watson late, and like I can't remember who the tight end was, but I'm not. I don't. I wasn't that real example, but that's what I mean. Like you just have to fill out other positions from the other conference. And so
that makes total sense.
Yeah, and I think like Watson, I think whoever I took from the Packers like helped me advance. And yeah, they lost right away, but I got through round 1, and then suddenly I had all these teams that were alive still remaining, and like you could see why that team went to the Super Bowl because I had Drake May and all those Rams and Seahawks players. So that's basically how you can do it. And And yeah, so it's really like a puzzle. That's why I love puzzles. Like it's like I watch like these like random puzzles on, and my kids are into it too on the YouTube and whatever. So that's how I make it out to be. Can I get your thoughts on the team I drafted? Yes. I mean, if we're going to be on for about another maybe 10 minutes or so. So yeah, if you want to post your team real quickly, we can definitely review it.
Yeah.
So as far as this other draft's concerned, I was going to ask you about tight ends because I only saw you drafted 2.
Mhm.
And like I see like this guy took 4, this guy took 4, this guy only took 2. I do like Fryermuth. This guy took 3. It was like it's just because you're like I have Loveland, I don't need another tight end. Is that really it?
Absolutely. So it goes back to kind of what we were talking about with the difference between best ball and lineup leagues. I don't want to be messing around with, am I going to play Travis Kelce or Jake Ferguson,
Right.
or am I going to play Ethan Horton this week, or maybe I'll play Carlester Crumpler. I want to play Colston Loveland. And you know what? In some of these leagues, not picking from this spot, but if I were picking, like I have one of my, I know I have the 10th pick, I could see a situation where if Laporta's there in the 6th round, maybe I'm flexing Laporta and playing McBride. But for the most part, if I take a top tight end, that guy's in my lineup. If Colston Loveland gets hurt, well, I might be able to push this team into the money, but I'm not winning $1 million anyway. So, I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, if you look at this team, it's very fragile, right? But I mean, I could tell you the story of how it could win, right? It's got Loveland is an advantage or potentially an advantage. Jamar Chase certainly is an advantage, and then I need to find 2 or 3 of these other receivers to be top 24. And I've got some solid bets. I've got Tate and Brian Thomas and Jordan Tyson and Worthy and Debo and Jacoby Lane. So you could get some play the matchups that could get me through the first half of the season. And then all 3 of these running backs are really, Hall and Jacobs are bell cow running backs. Judkins has got Sampson there, but I mean he's going to get most of the carries. He's going to play most of the snaps. So I'll need those 3 to remain relatively healthy. And then at quarterback, I've got Burrow, and I'm going to usually play Burrow. But hey, we'll see. Brock Purdy's not that bad either. I think he was quarterback 4 overall last year, or right around. He was a top 12 quarterback last year.
Yeah, when he played, yeah.
So, if Burrow's got a real tough matchup, I could throw Purdy in there without thinking like, oh gosh, I have to play Daniel Jones this week or someone like that. So, we'll see. But I'm all about taking shots in these leagues.
Yeah. Oh, you said in the money. I assume that's you make the playoffs around 15. That's in the
You
money.
have to finish in 1st or 2nd place or get to the championship game.
Okay.
Of your 12-team league.
Okay, so okay, all right, okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, like a lot of the quarterbacks went super late here, like, and I assume that's because 2 flex and also tight ends are more valuable. But like I'm looking like Baker Mayfield 15-11. Tyler, I love Tyler Shucks 16-04. Stafford 14-03. Like Jordan Love is not bad at 17-04. Like it's just so much value. Although I do like your Purdy idea with like him. Like you can use that to your advantage in week 1. Like if he lights up the Rams, which granted could be tough to do with Garrett there, but still, and maybe Aaron Donald. But like I mean, who knows? Like maybe the Niners are trailing a lot, and garbage time he throws 3 touchdowns. Like that could happen. And then like exactly. you get like a huge output from Purdy. You're like, I don't need Burrow week 1, even though that's a good matchup too. So yeah, I think that's a really good advantage that you had there. So yeah, it's an interesting team. Wish you the best. I hope you win. It'd be cool if this is the $1 million lineup and you showcased it. But yeah, I mean, I like your draft, and yeah, I think I'll be pulling for you to take this down.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to need a little bit of luck, but I guess any team is going to need a little bit of luck to win $1 million.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, here like the winners who win, like, yeah, they had good teams, but they needed some luck to get there. Like I think the guy who won the best ball last year, he needed Bijan Robinson to have a huge game, but not like an insane game. He needed, like, I think Bijan had like 160 yards or something against the Rams in week
Okay.
17, but he
Yeah.
he didn't. If Bijan got to like 200 yards, he would have lost. He would have finished in second. So like he needed like more than 130, but less than 200. And so like he actually like finished in between. It's like funny how that worked out. And then he got like a big game from Burden, who like did nothing to start the year. And for most of the season, I heard that like Tyler Shuck was his only active quarterback because he had Purdy, who was out for a while, and then like his other quarterback wasn't doing anything, or was bench, or I forget what that story was. Like he took Shuck super late, and yeah, that Shuck got him there, But Purdy was in his winning lineup in week 17 because that was that crazy Monday night game against the Bears. But yeah, that's Sunday. That was a Sunday night game. That was a Sunday night game against the Bears. And I wanted to run this by you real quick before we head out. Just thinking about like late round quarterbacks who could potentially, because I've been inching toward like drafting 2 quarterbacks just because I'm waiting on receiver and every other position, just drafting early running backs. And so I'm taking receivers where I usually take like my 3rd quarterback if I do take one. Now, if I take risky quarterbacks, I will take a 3rd quarterback. But if I'm drafting Drake May, like, do I really need a 3rd quarterback? Like I take Drake May, and then like round 11 or so, I'll take like Mayfield or something, and then I'm just like, I'm done a quarterback. I don't need another one. But for me, like sometimes like it just dawned on me, I'm like, well, what if May actually misses a few games, and so I'm like, what's like a backup option I could take late, like a guy in the 20th round who will start some games in the second half of the season and actually like be pretty decent. And I've been going, kind of curious your thoughts on this. I've been going with Cade Klubnik in the 20th round because he can run. And I'm not convinced Geno Smith's going to play the whole year. Like the Jets are, I think the Jets are better than people think, but they're not a playoff team. And like once they realize they're not a playoff team, they kind of have to see what they have at Klubnik. It's kind of like, to a lesser extent, what we saw with the Saints last year. They drafted Shuck, and yeah, they started Rattler to start the year, but eventually they're like, yeah, we're not making the playoffs. Let's go with the rookie. And Shuck had some really good performances. I mean, he could run as well. And so I'm thinking, like, what if Klubnik is that guy in round 20 who like if May's out for 2 or 3 games, he could get me there. What do you think about that strategy?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, you look at the way the Jets are building their team, and Darren Mogi is definitely building it for next year. And so part of that is you draft Cade Klubnik to be your backup for the next 4 years. You've got a cheap backup quarterback. Geno Smith is not going to be tied to this organization after this year. So, maybe you get to a point in the year where you say, hey, let's play the backup. The guy is going to, maybe next year when we have Arch Manning or Lenora Sellers or whoever they end up drafting in the first round, maybe Klubnik has to play a couple of games. So let's get him some regular season experience. Or, maybe Geno Smith is decent and they're like, hey, we're not winning. We're going to be drafting a quarterback. Maybe we trade Geno Smith at the trade deadline, and we play Klubnik for the rest of the year. So that definitely makes sense. And another guy that's kind of like along those lines, but the opposite, sort of on the Geno Smith side of that, is Kirk Cousins. And he's nothing special. He's not going to finish as a top fantasy quarterback. But if you're looking for, who's someone I could take in the 20th round who could at least hit my lineup, maybe the Raiders play him for the first 2 months of the season. They're not that good, and they trade him to a team that has an injury because someone just needs, like a Joe Flacco type trade. And he goes somewhere else, and he starts the last 2 months of the season for a different team. I mean, it's possible, and I could see the Raiders doing something like that too, because of course they have Mendoza, but Aiden O'Connell's serviceable as a backup to get them through the rest of the year if they're not that good and they get to the end of October. So Klubnik makes sense. I think Cousins makes a little bit of sense if you absolutely needed to take quarterback in the last round.
Okay, glad you're on board. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know. I mean, just kind of dawned on me. I mean, he's not like a late round pick. He was what, 4th round. So
Yeah.
they might be wondering, okay, what if he's the guy? Like, we'll see what they have in him. I've also been taking Darnell Washington late as my 3rd tight end because Johnny Smith's gone, and I feel like he has a lot of upside. Although I do like Pat Fryermuth, but just like Rodgers just wants to not throw long passes, and so I think just taking a Steeler tight end makes sense, especially with Gainwell gone.
Yeah. Oscar Delp's a little bit interesting there too, just because of the offense. Juwan Johnson's nothing special. Heard good things about Delp. He's a rookie tight end though, so
and Tyson got hurt too, so the targets have to go somewhere if he misses time. Okay, so great drafting through tonight, Mike, and really cool results there in that high stakes league. Any final words on the way out?
No, I'm excited. It's fantasy football season. I have a bunch more of these drafts. I'm gonna jump on your channel and review the rest of these drafts that I have going on. I'll obviously go on earlier than your show and just show some of these draft boards, because I feel like for the people who are drafting, you look at some of these mid stakes and high stakes drafts, and sure, you have to ignore the tight end premium aspect of it, bump the tight ends down around, but it gives you a good idea of where players should be going, even though Jeremiah Love went in the 2nd round here. I'm excited to be doing some fantasy football drafts and some content here.
Yeah, can't wait to see your content on the channel once again. That'd be awesome. Love having you on, Mike. Can't wait for next time. But to determine when that is, I didn't look at the preseason schedule yet, so for week 2, so we'll have to figure that out. We'll talk after the show. But guys, thanks so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. We'll be back on Tuesday, not tomorrow. I have some stuff I have to take care of. We'll be back on Tuesday doing another live draft, and then Wednesday, and then it depends on what the schedule is on Thursday. We'll figure it out. I'll tell you later in the week. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit walterfootball.com for tons of content, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.